Alright, what is going on, guys? It is Benny, and today I'm going to be showing you guys the top 5 best decks in Clash Royale and showing you how to use them. And these decks are going to be the best decks following the balance changes that are coming up. So you can be sure, you can play these decks right now and they're amazing, and they're also going to be amazing after the balance changes. Now for our first one, as this guy messes up his spell there, we are going to be playing Mortarbait. And now Mortarbait is going to be buffed very soon, guys. If you haven't seen already, Spear Goblins are getting a major buff. And that is also going to affect Goblin Gang, which is just going to make Mortarbait absolutely amazing. This guy is already in so much trouble. He's actually cooked. He definitely used his spells way too early. But I would 100% recommend playing this, guys. And as you can see, I swapped out Little Prince with Musketeer because Little Prince is getting nerfed. And, also I get a ton of comments constantly of people asking me, Benny, which deck should I play? Or what card can I swap Little Prince for? And the answer is always going to be Musketeer. I mean, sometimes you can swap in Archer Queen. Personally, I'm not a fan of Archer Queen. I don't love it, but so the safest swap that you can always do is going to be Musketeer. Now, we are absolutely clapping this kid so far, but we do have to play some defense, and I'm going to kind of try to teach you guys how to play defense with this deck as well, so it's the perfect opportunity here. Now, he has the Bowler coming in. I'm just going to play my Knight right here, and that's it. And the secret to this deck is always cycling your Musketeers as fast as possible and making sure that you have them in the correct lane. So you'll see here, because he played the Knight on the left side, I'm okay with using my Musketeer in the back now and slow pushing it, because chances are, because he played the Knight, it's not like he can go 10 elixir deep on the right side, and the Musketeer can be a nice easy counter to that Giant. He's going to Giant in the back, so I'm just going to go ahead and Mortar, and then we can cycle our Spear Goblins in the back here. Because he played the Evil Archers, I am going to play the Poison. It just makes sense to get rid of them, and we're already back to another Musketeer. And every time we're playing the Musketeer, we're playing it a little bit to the right and in the center, so that it's always just out of the exact direct lane. Obviously it walked forward a little bit, but as you can see, it's taking out the Bowler, and we have 2 towers down now. So honestly, I feel like this is the perfect example of why this deck is so good. And we're using this and getting a very nice and easy win. We can just go ahead and cycle our Skeleton Barrel, but I think this is the perfect opportunity to go on into the next. Alright, you guys, for this next deck, we're going to be playing Hog Mortar. Now, I think that Hog Rider is going to be very good when Dagger Duchess gets nerfed. I think it'll kind of reappear in the meta, and I decided to play this match with Princess Tower just because I feel like a lot of Clash Royale YouTubers, I mean, everybody's using Dagger Duchess right now, so I figured that I would give you guys some Princess Tower gameplay so you can be prepared when Dagger Duchess gets nerfed, or just in case you don't have Dagger Duchess. Now, also, one thing I will say is that the last deck in this video is honestly a really fun deck, and it's a bit of a secret deck that I'm predicting will be amazing in the meta and will return. It's an old Mortar deck, so I would definitely check that out if you guys are trying to get a little step up on everybody. But anyways, we're going to defend this, and honestly, really solid Musketeer defense. The goal of this deck is to always just cycle those Musketeers, very similar to Hog Cycle and Mortarbait, and then you can use the Hog Rider to pressure your opponent and outcycle them. Honestly, the defense of this deck is a lot stronger than many decks. I feel like in a lot of decks right now, ooh, shoot, okay, we're gonna have to play the Musketeer here, but I feel like in a lot of decks right now, one of the issues that you have when you're playing Hog Rider is your defense is kind of lacking, especially in a lot of Hog Mortar decks. But with the way that Musketeer and Knight are so strong, and honestly all you really need to defend, especially in the meta lately, it's honestly such a solid deck. You have such a step up on everybody, being able to pressure with the Hog Rider as well as the Mortar, and the cycle is just crazy fast. So let's go ahead, and we got the Evo Knight down. I'm debating mortaring here. Honestly, I don't really want to overextend too much, especially because we're playing against Drill and which is crazy, honestly. So we're just going to wait a second here. Let's see what he does for the Evo Knight. I think he's going to have to play something else unless he does want to take a bit of damage. There's the E-Wiz, so let's go ahead. We're going to Mortar, and then I'll just play the Bats here. And actually, that kind of works out perfectly for us, I'll be honest, because we can go ahead and split our Skeletons right here. And then they're going to split up decently, I think. And we did get him to use the arrows, so that's okay. And then we can go ahead and Mortar. The nice thing about the Evo Skellies is even if they counter it with something like arrows, that's a really bad elixir trade for them. I'm going to go ahead and poison this Witch. There's really no point in allowing the Witch to just kind of walk up on you. Which can be very dangerous in that scenario. So let's go ahead, let's get another Musketeer down. I'm going to log here, and then I'm just going to play the Bats for this other side, and let's see if he uses his arrows to counter it. If not, then we're chilling. He does, so we can play the Knight, and then let's just get another Hog Rider in there. With the Musketeer behind, he can't just Tornado. He's going to have to play something else, as you can see by the E-Wiz. He almost messed that Tornado up. That would have been pretty crazy. Let's let's go ahead, let's get another mortar. He's going to play the spear goblin, so I'm just going to log them out of the way there. We can probably cycle to a log in time when we need to. Let's get a musketeer here right there to defend the mortar, and then we'll get some skeletons in front so that we can defend. I'm going to cycle my bats early so he has to use the arrows right away, and then hopefully we can cycle back to our arrows, or to our bats, sorry. Unfortunately he did e-whiz, but we're back to another musketeer, and he's going to go for a drill. So let's go ahead. I'm going to play my evil skellies right there on the e-whiz just to kind of get it down a little bit quicker. Honestly, I'm going to play my knight here too. The evil skellies, they weren't the greatest play, I'll be honest. I shouldn't have done that, but that's okay because he did play the witch to counter that side, and then we can go ahead and mortar on this side. I think I'm going to go for a hog pretty soon. He did give us the mortar lock actually, so there's really no point in even hogging. I'm just going to log all of this back. Then we can play our skeletons right here to kind of pull and help defend. Let's get the knight down here, and then let's hog, and then we can poison and log, and I think that's going to be game. Let's just wait and see. There's the hog rider. Too bad we didn't get a hit. We're going to poison there. I'm going to wait to log just until we know for sure we can get it. How much does log do at this level? 77. So I think we're going to need one more poison, and then let's go ahead and just play the skeletons here to pull again. And we do have the log for when that drill comes out. When you're playing against recruits, you're just always pulling to the middle. That's all you have to do, is just pull to the middle, play your musketeer down low, pull to the middle. But that's going to be game. Let's give him a good game. Let's give him a good luck, and let's go right on into the next one. All right, you guys, for our next deck, it is going to be Mortar Graveyard. Now, Mortar Graveyard is a ton of fun right now. One thing I will say with this deck though is, so I'm using skeletons in this deck right now, but a lot of people run goblins or guards. Honestly, it's completely up to preference. I prefer the quick cycle because that's just my play style. And then the other tip I will give you guys for Mortar Graveyard is the graveyard is what will make or break your game. All right, if you're using graveyard effectively, then it's a really good thing to have in the deck to get a win. But if you misplay your graveyard, it's going to cost you the game. So really, you want to play it like a mortar deck first. And when I say that, what I mean is you're trying to get your initial damage using your mortar. You're not trying to, use the graveyard to get a ton of damage and win the game off of that. You're just going for the mortar damage at the start, and then when an opportunity comes up that you can use a graveyard, that's when you're going to go ahead and go for that. Now he's going in with the skeleton dragons. Honestly, I'm going to have to Little Prince here to kind of support here. Definitely not an ideal defense for sure, but the Little Prince should take out that skeleton dragon, and then if we can get the miner down, then we should be okay. Yeah, we're chilling. That's not bad at all. I could mortar here, but honestly, it's a little bit risky. That being said, actually, I do want to mortar now that I think about it, because I don't want to let him lava hound really easily. And then I'm trying to cycle to my knight as fast as possible. He just used 6 elixir to counter our mortar, which was kind of crazy. And because we have these skeletons, because they're 1 elixir, we can just play them to cycle, and then we're back to our phoenix. So if he lava hounds, we can just start the phoenix in the back here. I think I'm going to start one in the back regardless, just because we want to cycle. And then he also used his void, so he can't really counter our Little Prince. There is the lava hound. So let's go ahead, and we've got the evil knight, and we do have graveyard, but it's not really an ideal situation right now for us to play the graveyard. So I think we're going to wait. Hopefully that phoenix stays out of range of the dagger duchess. I guess not. That's okay. Let's go ahead and play the evil knight here to tank the skeleton dragons, and the poison will not get the lava pops, but that's okay because they're going to be distracted on the evil knight. And then we can go ahead, I guess. Ooh, crap. Okay, that was a bad evil mortar. I should have saw that coming, honestly. But we might still get 1 shot out of it. That's all right. I'll take it. And then we can just play the knight here. We do have a phoenix down, so if he lava hounds, it'd be kind of a silly mistake for him to make. And then, okay, there's the lava hound. So let's go ahead and play the Little Prince right here. And then, honestly, I'm going to go ahead and play the phoenix right on top of the Little Prince to block that void a little bit. Nice. And then we're going to go ahead and poison here for some really good value. Every single time when you're playing against lava hound, you want to get as much value out of your poison as you can. Now let's go ahead and play the skeletons here for the Infernal Dragon, and then let's get the mortar down. Hopefully the Infernal Dragon doesn't go too crazy. He played the barbs. That was a really bad play. Anytime somebody plays barbs to counter your mortar, literally just play your log or whatever your spell is in front of it, and then 1 mortar shot will help get everything so low that you don't really have to counter. And then I'm just going to play the skeletons here to cycle. You'll notice here we still haven't played a graveyard because it hasn't been the right time. But I think right here is where we will graveyard just to kind of pressure him. Not the greatest placement there, but that's okay. And then let's just wait and see what happens here. we're going to go ahead and poison, but I think that's going to be game. So we can give him a good game. Let's give him a good luck, and let's go right on into the next match. Alright, you guys, for this next deck, we are going to be playing the Miner Poison deck. Now, this deck is honestly amazing. I made a video on it a couple days ago, but, you know, I figured this is definitely one of the best Mortar decks, and this video is obviously about the best Mortar decks, so I had to show it. He's going to go for a Princess there. I am going to log because I have my little Prince, and I can use the ability to counter the Goblin Barrel if he goes for a Knight and then a Goblin Barrel at the drill, or at the bridge, sorry. Let's start a little Prince in the back here, just to cycle, and then we'll kind of see. Now, you'll see here I am using Little Prince in this deck instead of like Musketeer or anything, and the reason for that is because I wanted to show you guys the 3-card cycle power of this deck. If Little Prince gets nerfed and it's absolutely terrible, then Archer Queen would probably be a card that is worth using in this deck. And then if not Archer Queen, of course Musketeer is always a great option. What is this guy doing? Okay, let's go ahead. Let's just play the Goblins just to delay for a second, and then we can log. And then I don't think the Princess is... Oh, that was beautiful. Okay, and then we can just play our Knight right here. Boom. And then that is all countered. And because he did that, I'm going to go for the Mortar. And then let's go for some bats just in case he tries the Inferno Tower. And then, okay, we're chilling. Let's just see what he does next. The Dagger Duchess is out of ammo, so I'm going to play the Miner, and I'm playing the Miner behind the tower to pull any counters he plays behind the tower so the Mortar gets a shot. Instead, he chose to counter the Mortar, which is good for us because the Miner is getting a ton of damage. The strength of this deck is when you can get them to get the Dagger Duchess out of ammo and then really punish them. I'm going to have to log that Princess because he has the Inferno Tower there, and that's okay. We're pretty even in damage here. But now we do have our Evil Mortar, so we can really rock with this and get some good damage. And with this deck, guys, I would try to make sure that you're not playing your Miner Poisons a ton in single elixir. So you can play your Miner in single elixir for sure, but I would not back it up with Poison until double elixir, typically, unless it's like really good value. Oh my gosh, he just gave us a Mortar Lock. Then we can go for the Miner on the tower. This guy just lost because of that as we voice crack. But you don't want to overdo it or anything because... it's a lot of elixir, and you want your main damage to come from Mortar in this deck, and then as it gets a little bit closer, that's when you start to spam that Miner Poison power. Now, we do have the Mortar going on the other side, which is nice. If you want any tips for Miner Poison, I have a great video posted on my YouTube channel. I think it's the ultimate guide to playing Miner Poison, and so if you're looking to get better at Miner Poison, that's a great video to check out. But we're going to get the win here, so let's go ahead and cut into the last match. Right, guys, for this last deck, this is going to be an OG version of Mortarbait that uses Prince. Now, Prince is going to be amazing in the next meta, as well as Dark Goblin, as well as Goblin Gang. So this deck has just gotten buffs all across the board, and I personally think it's going to be a great deck. And the two Evos I'm using are Mortar and Evil Bats, so definitely worth checking out. Now, originally this deck uses either Rascals or Minion Horde, so if you only have one Evo, you could totally swap Bats out for that. But this deck honestly is amazing. It's amazing for one-tricking. Having the Prince is a great way to get damage. I've always found that just simply starting the Prince in the back can really counter a ton of things. And on top of that being amazing, one of the nice things about this deck is it matches up really well against beatdown decks because the Prince is so strong. So you see there, I already got a ton of damage just using the Bats. And the cycle is actually surprisingly quick as well. The average elixir of this deck is, you know, like 3.3 or something, I think, if I remember correctly, but the Prince makes it a lot you know, easier to use because the Prince is the only expensive card. He went for a weird freeze there, so I'm gonna go on Mortar, and I have the Prince in front, and that is actually a really annoying push for people to deal with. This is the first Mortar deck I ever played, or you know, when I first started, and I've always found that the Prince is really underrated with Mortar because when you get the Prince charging at the Mortar and then going towards the bridge, every counter they play gets cleared up by the Prince, and the Prince kind of can shut down the same lane. So as soon as you're playing the Prince or the Prince in the back, it's really hard for your opponent to do a ton to it. Let's go ahead and let's get the Miner there, and then we also have the Dark Goblin on the tower. Dark Goblin is just insane, and as Dagger Duchess gets nerfed, it's going to be even worse. And the Dagger Duchess is out of ammo there. He used the arrows, so I'm going to go ahead and Goblin Gang. Like, this is absolutely absurd. This is such a fun deck. If you have watched and you decided to come check out this video, I hope you are not disappointed because, like, yeah, you have a step up on everybody else if you know about this deck starting early off. This is Benny's little signature. Now he's going to go for the Sparky. That is a bad play to do against Evil Mortar. You should almost never Sparky into the same lane as Evil Mortar because the Sparky will just constantly get disrupted and the Evil Mortar will absolutely shred it. So that is great. Let's go ahead and Miner here, and then honestly I think I'm going to play the Goblin Gang. Oh, okay. That was weird, but that's actually perfect because we're going to lock onto the balloon first. So we're going to take all of that out. Ooh, he's going to freeze here, I guarantee it. So I'm just going to wait to play a counter. There's the freeze. Let's go ahead and do this and then that. We're going to take a bit of damage, but that's okay. Kind of knew what was coming there for sure. Let's go ahead and play the miner here in the front. We're just doing that because I doubt he's going to expect that. And then I will play the poison as well, and we can just log when the timer is up. But that's going to be a good game. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy these decks, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one. Peace out.